Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to Have You Seen That with T? I'm your boy T. I'm the host with the most. And finally, we are doing it. We're on YouTube, right? So this is going to be our first video podcast that we do drop on YouTube. So definitely like and subscribe to Have You Seen That with T YouTube page. Also subscribe to the Have You Seen That with T Facebook group page. We also on Apple Music and Spotify, so definitely search Have You Seen That with T? I'm your boy T. And let's get right into it, right? This episode, we're gonna be talking about the 95th Annual Academy Awards ceremony that will be going on March 12th. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm sort of excited for this year's Oscars. And why is that, right? The movie that I've been touting since its inception, since the first time I went and saw it, it is nominated for an Oscar. And I always feel great when a movie that I love is recognized by the Academy, even though it's not the end-all be-all for me when it comes to the Academy. This movie has been just sweeping all of the award shows, whether it be the Golden Globes, whether it be the Screen Actors Guild Awards. They've just been running roughshod over all of its competition, and I don't see anything else happening on Sunday. I'll be really surprised if another movie takes it out. There are a few dark horses in there, but then again, with the Academy, you really never know, right? They don't take into effect the feelings of movies, right? And I guess that's not their job, right? Their job is to look at all the technical aspects, the script, the directing, all of the things in total. But I think this movie encapsulates everything that's right with movie making. And if you've been listening to the podcast, if you've been watching any of my movie reviews, you already know what movie I'm talking about. But we're going to get to that a little bit later, right? So we're just going to go through, all of the different categories. And I'm going to give a few of my picks for, best whatever it is. I'll give all the nominees. So we're going to start with the actor in a leading role, right? So this year, Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for Aftersun, and Bill Nighy for Living. Okay, of all those movies, I've seen one. I've seen Elvis, and Austin Butler was fantastic. I won't lie. When I did see the preview for Elvis, I thought to myself, this kid looks nothing like Elvis Presley, right? He just didn't to me. He had a very peculiar face. That's what I will say. He had a very peculiar face, and I really wasn't digging his look when I saw the previews. I watched the movie this past week on HBO Max, and I was pleasantly surprised. The movie wasn't as great as I thought it would be, but then again, I really had low expectations for that movie. So it was better, I guess, than expected. But his performance was fantastic. Of all of these movies, I've heard of Colin Farrell's performance in The Banshees, and of course, everyone's been gushing over Brendan Fraser's portrayal of an obese man in The Whale. I just haven't found myself with the particular emotions to go into watching this movie. My particular pick for this Oscar, I think Brendan Fraser is going to run away with it, only because of what the buzz that he got since for his portrayal in this movie. So moving on to actor in a supporting role, we have Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, Judd Hirsch for The Fabelmans, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees, and Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And Ke Huy, he's been killing he's won it at the Golden Globes. He's won Best Supporting Actor at the SAG Awards as well. And I don't see why this is going to change at the Oscars. I mean, he swept all these awards. He was fantastic in this movie. And Everything Everywhere All at Once. The role was supposed to go to Jackie Chan, and I'm really so glad it didn't, because then you took Like if you walked into that movie not knowing what it's about, and then you see Jackie Chan, you already know he's about to kick some ass, right? But when you see the kid from Indiana Jones in the movie, you have no idea what he's about to do, even though he's made his living for the last 20 plus years, doing stunt work. What he did in this movie was just nothing short of spectacular, and I'm gonna gush about this movie a little bit later, but we're gonna move on to the actress in a leading role, right? So we got Kate Blanchett, who's always nominated. I feel like every year, she's nominated for whatever movie she's in, and that's for Tar. We have Anna de Armas, who's nominated for Blonde, and Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fablemans, and Michelle Yeoh, the queen herself, for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And this one is a little bit tougher for me because I saw Blonde, I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the performance that Anna de Armas gave in the movie Blonde was just, I mean, nothing short of spectacular. And what she did with this film, I mean, what she did in this film, um, you know, her portrayal of Marilyn Monroe. I mean, I was taken aback by how similarly she looked to Marilyn Monroe initially, but then her performance, like I got lost in her performance, and it was a very brutal and cathartic movie to watch. I mean, it was very depressing. It just really just aired a lot of that dirty Hollywood laundry that, I'm pretty sure this movie was paled in comparison to what actually happened during her life. But I mean, her performance in this was, nothing short of spectacular. And then, of course, Michelle Yeoh and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And unfortunately, I haven't watched all of these movies, so it's hard for me to tell. But once again, I mean, Kate Blanchett is going to bring it. She's a tour de force. She's one of this generation's greatest actresses or actors or whatever pronoun you want to call these thespians. But I mean, she always brings it. Michelle Williams is always great. Andrea Riseborough, she's her star has risen. She comes from a theater background, so it's a toss up. My personal pick is Anna de Armas for Blonde because of what she did with this role, even though Michelle Yeoh was fantastic in her role as well. But what Anna de Armas did in Blonde was just, I didn't expect it, and she just completely fell into that role. Then you got the actress in a supporting role, right? And this one, to me, is a clear-cut winner, but once again, you never know with the Academy. So the nominees are Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Hong Shao for The Whale, Kerry Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everywhere All at Once, and then Stephanie Sue for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And this one, I did say it was a clear cut, but it's kind of tough because Jamie Lee Curtis was fantastic as the IRS agent and Everything Everywhere All at Once. But then again, so was Stephanie Sue. She was, I mean, what a performance. I mean, she was the antagonist, really who wasn't an antagonist, but was an antagonist. The levels and layers of this movie and what she did in her roles in this movie was fantastic. Same thing with Jamie Lee Curtis. But of course, my pick is the Queen, Angela Bassett, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. She stole every scene. Like, I did not think that she would be such a character in the forefront of the movie. I thought it would be more, the sister story. But I mean, Angela Bassett, the scene with her and Okoye is the hands down one of the most powerful scenes I've ever seen in any movie that I've ever watched. I was like literally taken aback, from that scene in the movie when she confronts Okoye when her daughter was kidnapped after, of course, her son had died tragically to some unknown illness, which they never disclosed in the movie. But I mean, it was just hard hitting, and her performance was just punch you in the face every time she was on the screen, and it was just fantastic. I mean, the performance she gave. Unfortunately, I don't think she's gonna win it, which is very sad. But I mean, that's my pick. That's my personal pick. I think that the performance she gave, she didn't ham it up. It just all came from this very visceral, very sad place, and it was very powerful because she was the queen, and she let everybody know she was still a queen. And I mean, just what a powerful performance that Angela Bassett gave in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And everyone knows, if you listen to my review, I was not a huge fan of the movie for the direction that it went, and of course, it was all strategically. It was the end scene that really did it for me. But just every scene she was in, every scene that Namor was in, was just fantastic, and head and shoulders above the rest. But I digress. We'll move over to animated feature film. You got Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. And sadly, I've not watched any of these. I did watch Turning Red. It was a really, really good movie. But I think that Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which has been, everyone has raved over this movie. I think that one will win it. And that's all I have to say about that. The animated movies next year. Spider-Man will come out this year, so hopefully that'll win another Oscar. Um, but for directing, we got Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin, the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, which is about his life story, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Ostlund for The Triangle of Sadness. And of course, Steven Spielberg will win this award. I've heard nothing but great things about The Fabelmans. I haven't seen it. Really not interested in watching, a Steven Spielberg movie about Steven Spielberg's life. Even though he's lived a fantastic life and he is the greatest director of this generation or any generation, in my opinion. But I think he will win it for this, and I think the Daniels deserve it for everything, everywhere, all at once. But I think the Oscars will give it to Steven. And the next original song, we got Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, performed by, or music and lyrics by Diane Warren. You got Hold My Hand, which is my daughter's favorite song. She wanted to watch Top Gun only for this song. That's performed by Lady Gaga. You got Lift Me Up by Rihanna, from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. You got Natu Natu from RRR. And then you got This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't really remember that song. Of course, you know me. Gotta go with Riri. Gotta go with the Queen, Rihanna. But I think Lady Gaga will pull out this award because it's the Oscars. And Rihanna's going to perform Lift Me Up at the Oscars. I think everyone will perform their songs at the Oscars. And I think it's really cool that a Bollywood song was nominated for an Oscar. I can't say that I've seen RRR, but I've heard this is one of the best movies of last year. It's really cool. I'm going to be excited to see them perform on Sunday that song, because I will actually watch this year's Oscars, and I might do a post show, wrap up after the Oscars. But let's move on to Best Picture. And this year, other than last year, I think I might have saw like two movies from the Best Picture. Actually, I don't think I saw any movies from last year's Best Picture nominations. But this year, for Best Picture, we got All Quiet on the Western Front. We got Avatar: A Way of Water, which is surprising. The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun: Maverick, which is a huge surprise there, Triangle of Sadness, and Woman Talking. Right? So for Best Picture, I've seen 4 out of these, 9 movies, 10 movies. And let's just, if you've listened to me, if you've watched the podcast, if you've watched any of my videos, if you've listened to any of the podcasts, anytime I talk about any movie in 2022, My favorite movie of 2022 was Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was the most complete movie I think I've seen probably in the last decade when it came to action, when it came to heart, when it came to family, when it came to love, romance, and just a very endearing story, which is completely out of left field. And that's another thing that I loved about it because it was a completely unique IP, right? They took an idea that's so outlandish, and of course, this is coming off, the Marvel. This is coming off No Way Home, right? And the Marvel was just dipping into the multiverse. And the month after that, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was supposed to come out, and then you have this multiversal movie that upstaged that movie in every single way possible, other than the big budget, right? It had Doctor Strange had a way bigger budget, but everything about Everything Everywhere All at Once was just a better movie, period. It was funnier, it was more action packed, it had some of the greatest characters you're ever going to see in a movie, and some of just one of the best stories told on film in a very long time. And if this movie doesn't win, I'm going to be very disappointed. But then again, I'm not going to be shocked because once again, it's the Oscars. The fact that Top Gun Maverick is nominated for an Oscar is mind blowing to me because we've had better movies. There have been better movies than Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick was a good, feel good American movie. I call it, that's one of those movies I call an American movie because it just screams America, right? You have this pilot who goes on this top secret mission and they get shot down, and somehow these two these two heroes, as we like to call them, they ran to I don't even remember what country they were in. But they ran to an airfield, managed to take off in an enemy airfield, and fly back home in like some old rusty air. But it's one of those good feel good movies. I'm not even mad at them. I'm not mad at, like, it was 20 years after the original Top Gun, and they did a fantastic job with that movie. I've never seen a movie like that nominated for an Oscar. I can't, like, I've never seen a mindless action movie nominated for an Oscar. But here we are. And, Elvis, for what it was a good movie. The only other movie I saw was Avatar Way of Water. Once again, I mean, is it being nominated because it was a beautifully shot movie? Is it being nominated because it made a lot of money? Because it was not, the greatest movie that I've seen this year or last year. Not even close. But I've heard nothing but great things about All's Quiet on the Western Front. I've heard that this is one of the best movies. Same thing with Banshees of Inisherin. But those are two totally different stylistic movies. And I think all of these movies on this list are just completely different. It's almost like they took the best of each genre and then a few in betweens and and made that the list for Oscar nominations, which is cool. In all honesty, I would love to see a horror movie up there. That would be cool. I think there are a few horror movies that could have that are Oscar worthy to me. But who am I? I'm just a measly, lowly film critic who just loves to watch movies, and I'm not even a critic. I'm just a person who likes to talk about movies. But those are, your Oscar list. Some notables for me, some people who I wish were nominated for Oscars. For Best Actress, I really wish that Regina Hall, Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. I think her performance in that movie is one of the best performances I've seen, one, her have, and two, of all of the actresses, of all of the performance that I saw. I just thought her performance in that movie was so impactful, subdued until the very end when she gave one of the best perform. Like the end of that movie, what she did at the end of that movie, when she got into a mime suit, or when she put on, white face because she was pantomiming, her husband's sermon. That sounds so outlandish and so buffoonish. But if you saw her portrayal at the end of the movie, if you saw that closing scenes of that movie with Regina Hall, I mean, it's just tour de force. I mean, I give her nothing. Regina Hall does not get the level of respect that she deserves for what she's done in the business. She played a lot of whimsical roles early in her career, but she is just she's a powerhouse. She is a powerhouse. Another actor that I thought, let's talk about it. Last year, I'm pretty sure Kimmel's gonna do some stupid jokes on Sunday about the slap. But let's talk about emancipation. Honestly, I think Will Smith more deserved an Oscar nomination for this role than he did for King Richard. I also think that Ben Foster deserved the best supporting role, for his portrayal in this movie. I thought Ben Foster was amazing in Emancipation, and I do not like slavery movies. But he was so um, visceral, so tense, and so conflicted at the same time. Uh, I thought his performance was amazing. I thought he deserved something of a nomination from any body of organization for his portrayal in that movie. I do think that that movie deserved to be nominated for the best picture. I think that Anton Fuqua deserved to be nominated as best director. We all know why. I think that we all know why. This movie kind of got scoffed at the end of the day because of the slap last year. It's kind of like the Academy slapping Will Smith in the face by not nominating this vastly superior movie to a lot of movies on that Best Picture list. A vastly far superior movie than Top Gun, than Way of Water, Avatar, Way of Water. No matter how you feel about movies, I think that movie was a better movie than Elvis. And those are the movies I saw. I can't speak on any of the other movies that I didn't see. But there you have it. Those were some of my snubs that I thought should have been nominated, and of course we know why. The Academy might not even have seen Honk for Jesus Save Your Soul. I know they saw Emancipation, but we know why those guys weren't nominated for that role. But that's the Oscars. I don't really put too much stock into it, but it is culturally the biggest award show, movie wise, of the year. So it'll be, it would not be right of me to not at least cover it, and not at least talk about those movies. And next year I'll try to watch more, but it's really hard, especially when those movies just hold no interest to me, like at all. But everything, everywhere, all at once. Every award that it's nominated for, I hope it wins. Other than Best Supporting Actress, I mean, I won't be mad if Jamie Lee Curtis or Stephanie Sue wins. But I definitely want Angela Bassett to win. Definitely want. I think she deserves it. Michelle Yeoh, if she wins, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But I think Anna de Armas, just her performance as Marilyn Monroe, will just stand the test of time. Even though that movie is very hard to watch. So that really wraps up my Oscar nomination list. But let's go ahead and talk about Scream 6, right? I went and saw Scream 6 yesterday, and I was so impressed with how this franchise rebounded after Scream 3 and 4. Scream 3, I thought that was the death of the series. It was so, I don't want to say poorly made, but it was so Hollywood what they did with Scream 3, to end the trilogy. And we all know trilogies, it's really hard to wrap up a trilogy properly. And Scream 3 did that unspectacularly, not like Creed 3. Creed 3, if if Michael B. Jordan only wanted to do 3 Creed movies, what he did with Creed 3 was, I mean, that's one of the best trilogies that I've ever seen, because each chapter was just great. Each chapter, even though, Creed 2 wasn't better than Creed 1, Creed 3 was better than Creed 2, which is kind of on par with Creed 1. But with the Scream franchise, Scream 3 just really underwhelmed in every aspect of it. And then, they took a few years off. They did the Scream series, and then they came back with Scream 4, and that movie was solid. I think the killers at the end of Scream 4 kind of ruined it. They weren't. It was a surprise, but it kind of what the killers in the Scream franchise really signified, or what they were trying to do. They were trying to, just like with the Saw series, after the first one, that first Saw had such a great ending. The first Scream had two of the most iconic killers in cinema history. Billy Loomis, and Stu Macher. Um, uh, those two guys were such goofballs, like, and they was, they I mean, they're just iconic for the surprise of it all, right? The first time you had two killers in the movie, right? And then every single movie after that was chasing that high. They were chasing the high of finding that perfect villain. I think that I've gotten past that now. I think that gotten way past the fact of hoping that we have these iconic killers, because you're never going to get that again. You're never going to get Billy Loomis again. You're never going to get Stu Macher again. You're never going to get those two people you care enough about, because in every Scream movie, you just figure, all right, there's gonna be a killer or killers, and everybody else is gonna be cannon fodder. Everybody else is just gonna die in these spectacular ways. So you don't really come to care about any of the characters other than the main characters. And this movie was absolutely no different, right? So they laid out these franchise rules again. The Meek slash Martin twins, the Mindy and Chad, those two guys, those two characters are awesome, right? They were in the movie, and of course, Mindy lays out the franchise rules, right? And how there are no rules when it's a franchise. Anybody can die. And that kind of sets us up for thinking that one of the main characters is going to die. And of course, the two main characters of this, new installment and moving forward are Tara and Sam Carpenter. Of course, a nod to John Carpenter, one of the greatest horror legends of all times. But you got Sam and Tara, and they've gone to New York. Tara's in college now, and Sam follows her to New York to try to protect her sister after the latest Woodsboro massacre, that occurred in Scream 5, which was a revelation to me. I think that really reinvigorated the franchise by giving us two new stars, and giving us, stars that we can believe in, who are not named Sidney Prescott. We had Gail Weathers in this movie as well. She came back for a role, and then we had Hayden Panettiere, who played I cannot remember her character's name, but she was in Scream 4. She came back playing an FBI agent who's been searching, tracking down the Ghostface killers. And what they did with this movie, I'm not going to spoil anything, but what they did, how they started the movie off with the Cole Scream kill, was such, I mean, definitely hands down the best cold open of a Scream film of all times. Like, this one definitely just it is definitely the best one. Of course, Drew Barrymore's first Scream kill. I won't tell you who the actress is who got killed at the beginning of this movie, but it was a big one to me. Like, if you're a horror fan, you know who she is, and it was awesome to see her be the first Scream kill. But what they did with this was so inventive, was so left field, was so out of the box, that I loved it, and I instantly, it instantly elevated this movie for me. And then what they did going from there, it just got better. Until the very end, when we found out who the killers were, and of course there were killers. It wasn't a single killer. And I forgot that Scream 3 is the only movie that had a single killer in it, which I guess was supposed to be inventive, or supposed to be a breath of fresh air, with the Scream franchise. But this one, there were killers, and when we got to the end, it ramped up, and these kills felt so personal. Like, this killer, they went for the jugular, as they say. Like they went. These were some of the most brutal knife killings. And then, of course, if you've seen the preview, you saw the shotgun kill of the bodega owner. I mean, the Ghostface killer in this movie um, did not stop. Like, it wasn't like an 80s movie where they just stabbed you once and watched you bleed out and just kind of, left it to be. No, they stabbed you about 50 times to make sure you weren't getting up, which was another gripe that I had with this movie because some people got up. Bro, and these aren't little knives. They're not cutting you with little, 3-inch pocket knives. They were cutting you with these huge Sylvester Stallone from Cobra knives, like the knives that you see that they sell on on infomercials at night that's supposed to cut through, metal. These are the knives that they were cutting people with. And some of these characters somehow still lived, at the end of this movie. And I thought that that was a little weird. And I'm not going to tell you who lived and who died, but characters didn't just get stabbed once, they got stabbed multiple times, and somehow they made it out, right? After 30 minutes of bleeding after getting stabbed a few times, um, generally you bleed out, right? Like that's the way biology works. But hey, some of these characters made it, and I'm not even mad at them for it. They'll be in Scream 7. Um, but here we are, Scream 6. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed this movie. I loved the two new characters. Jenny Ortega, she is always wonderful. And the actress who plays Sam, she's great. She's quickly becoming one of the best final girls that we've had because she's a little unhinged, right? If you've seen Scream 5, you know her dad is Billy Loomis. Spoiler alert, guys. But if you've seen Scream 5, you've had a whole year to watch Scream 5. But her dad is Billy Loomis, right? And she finds that out in the movie. And she sees Billy. She saw Billy all throughout Scream 5. And in Scream 6, she sees him again. And so she's a little unhinged. So part of that, going into it, I always think, you know what? Is she the one? Could she be the killer? No spoilers there. She's not. Just in case you thought that she might be. I'm sorry if I did spoil that part for you. But part of me, suspicious by her absence, I thought that Nev Campbell, Sidney Prescott, was going to just pop up at the very end and turn out to be the Ghostface killer. Once again, spoiler alert, she's not. She's not in the movie at all. There was a contract dispute. I thought that was a work. I thought she was just going to pop in there. Kind of like Henry Cavill did at the end of Black Adam. I thought she was going to pop in there after lying and said she wasn't going to be in a movie. But she didn't. And there you have it, right? It was not, Sidney Prescott was not Ghostface in Scream 6. Just in case you thought she might be, kind of like I did. But Scream 6 was just, I mean, the series, where it goes from here. Maybe they'll go to Mexico in the next one. I don't know. I mean, we've gone everywhere. We've gone to Woodsboro. We've gone to college. We've gone to L.A. Now we've gone to New York, which didn't play as big of a role. And I thought it was funny. One scene, they're on the train, and one person gets stabbed, and there's a person just kind of like laying there, and they're just like oblivious to the fact that this person is bleeding out, and that's so New York, right? New Yorkers will literally watch you get stabbed and they'll walk past you because they minding their business because it ain't their business, right? You don't have too many heroes in New York City who's gonna jump because they're like, this person's crazy. If I jump in there, I'm probably gonna get stabbed too. But I thought that was just a very New York scene in the movie and how like people are yelling, hey, help me, and nobody helps them. I thought that was hilarious. Like there's a scene, the bodega scene, when they're running into bodega, they're screaming, help, 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 until they're enclosed in this enclosed area where people have no choice but to listen to them. And then Ghostface pops in there. Nobody helps them. People are just kind of like walking around about their business, right? People get killed in New York and like people just walk around them as if they didn't just see them get stabbed or something like that, which is so very New York, which makes complete sense if you're from New York, because people literally won't help you. They will literally watch you bleed out. You might have that one person who comes up like 30 minutes too late, but it ain't never when you need them to help you. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for the Scream franchise, where it goes after 6. It's really hard to top this. How, if you saw the commercials, if you saw the previews, you saw that shrine for Ghostface. Um, you know, uh, it could be more. There could be more Ghostface worshipers out there, which I think this movie did touch a lot on the internet and how social media, um, shaped a lot of these stories, which is very, very accurate for how we live, the society we live in, how social media can really shape a narrative, even if it's not true, which 95% of the time, like, people just go with the more glamorous story, they go with the funnier story, or they go with the more sensationalized story, to kind of beef up their views and beef up their likes. But this movie really played into that. I did guess, I'm not gonna lie. As I watch Scream movies, I'm always like deducing, all right, what are they gonna do to come out of left field with, who the killers are, why they're killing, and it was almost prevalent from the very beginning who the killers were, at least to me. So definitely go check out Scream 6. You're gonna love it. It's not gonna be nominated for next year's Oscars, but it's definitely a good movie. It's a good horror movie to go check out. The franchise is in good hands, and I think moving forward, there's a lot that they can do with it. You could always bring Sydney back. Hopefully, they bring Sydney back, and the rest of the gang. I miss Dewey. I can't lie that I do. I do miss Dewey. But the twins, Chad and Mindy, if they survive this one, once again, no spoilers. If they survive this one, I think they're a good addition to the series. And whoever survives going into the next one, I think we're gonna have a good Scream 7. Hopefully they take a few years off. Don't just try to churn these out every year, because then they get watered down again. Then we get another Scream 3 and we just don't care again. But keep up the brutal kills. Ghostface, I mean, there's always somebody trying to get internet famous. There's always somebody trying to become infamous by being a serial killer. So there's always room to grow, as they say. But that's going to wrap up this episode of Have You Seen That with T. Um, Next week, we got Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I'm excited to go check that out. And then the week after that, we got the big one. We got John Wick 4, which is definitely one of my most anticipated movies coming in 2023. John Wick 4 is coming up in 2 weeks. So we're definitely going to continue with the pod. Next week, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I'm really concerned with the DCEU right now. I'm really concerned with everything that DC's doing right now. James Gunn seems unhinged. So I don't know where. I know what he said the franchise. I know where he said the franchise was going moving forward. But at this point, I don't know. Maybe he's bit off, more than he can chew. We're gonna see a lot of what to expect moving forward when we get Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But next week we got Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and I'm excited for that. I think that was one of the best DC movies that was made, period. Out of all of the DC movies, Shazam was one of the best ones, and I think Fury of the Gods is going to be pretty good. But a lot of people are already down on it. I've heard a lot of negative things about the movie already, but I can't wait to go see it for myself and just check it out and give you guys a good quality movie review. But until next week, I will catch you later, and I do thank you. Please like and subscribe to the video. Once again, go subscribe to the Have You Seen That With T YouTube page. Go subscribe to the Have You Seen That With T Facebook page. And definitely check us out on Spotify and Apple Music. And I will catch you guys next week.